Cool. I lost my train of thought, guys. Um, Let me look over my notes real quick. Where the fuck were we? What is up, my daring task force of nerds? Welcome to another nudie news night with me, your great streaming host, RedXR98. And tonight is the night we review the Suicide Squad. Not the crap from a few years ago, okay? Not that. No. We're doing the sequel slash reboot. It's kind of weird. They say it's not a sequel, but it technically can be a sequel, but also is a reboot of it. So James Gunn's version, the 2021 that just released, the Suicide Squad. We're going to stay as spoiler free as possible while giving a fair judgment of the movie by breaking it into various sections and averaging out all those numbers out of 10. Now, these numbers will always be derived from the four sections of story and writing, dialogue and script, character usage, and the overall world design and production. Before we get right into like the scoring, you may need to know a little bit about the comic books of the Suicide Squad, so that way you guys have an understanding of like why the Suicide Squad feels as it is. So in DC Comics, there are a secret task force made up of imprisoned supervillains sent on missions by Amanda Waller to take off years from their sentence. That's the deal that they make. But if they ever step out of line, well, you die. Is basically it. Their heads get fucking blown up, and every comic series of the Suicide Squad is either featuring returning characters that survived the last series or a whole new entire cast. And usually in the first few pages of the issues or of the series that starts, someone always dies right off the bat. The squad of Misfits are loved by many comic fans because not only do they feature a lot of their mainstream villains that they love, primarily like Harley Quinn, but it also brings to light a lot of underrated villains that a lot of people may have either forgotten about being part of the rogues galleries for either Batman or Flash, or they're just really weird ass fucking characters that are now getting the chance to shine. Now, this movie does do a great job of doing a mixture of both, with a bunch of great characters that we all love to see, while also bringing out a lot of like what would be considered cult favorites, like Polka Dot Man. I bet none of you ever heard of Polka Dot Man before this movie. Let me say, he's something, all right. As we go into this, we first got to analyze the story and writing. Now, starting right off the bat, we got our best intro to the movie. I feel that was fully comic book vibe, intro to the cast and crew of this fucking squad of misfits. And it was just a fuck ton of action right off the bat. It was so great. I was entertained from the very first minute. We get that feel for Def right from the start with a false sense of what the idea of the movie is. Because like I said in the description of the comics, someone always dies right out of the beginning. So everyone that you know is one that's in the movie. Before you watch it, you may not actually know how long they're gonna last. And let me say, it is very similar to the style of the actual comics, which is a huge plus in the form of the pacing and the writing. I definitely like how they put that in there. The movie does carry on a fun, thrilling time of chaos and fuck up leading to the eventual ending that I personally loved. I am so glad what happened in the ending did happen because, oh boy, if it wasn't spoiler, I would talk about it. I want to talk about it. But I was thoroughly surprised at how well James Gunn was able to redeem this franchise because, as you saw from the last movie, well, there were still even more surprises to come. Like, in the beginning of the production, we didn't know what Idris Elba's role was in the movie. We didn't know who it was supposed to be. And unless you're a huge comic nerd and know a lot about Suicide Squad or just the rogue villains that are available for that series, we were all pleasantly surprised on who he turned out to be. Not knowing who dies and who lives was also really well done by the story. times where you're like, oh, this person's gonna die, right? They're dead. They're right. They're not coming back for the sequel. And you're like, wait a second, they lived? And then you're like, oh come on, they can't kill this guy, right? Because he looks so important in the trailers. They died. Fuck. But you get that you just get the sense of fuck in a way that is like satisfying because you're like, wow, they did me dirty, but I'm okay with it. You know, those feelings. That's basically how it felt watching this movie. The smooth storytelling was actually like I said, very smooth. Like there were a few bumps of like maybe some of the pacing was a little rush here, but like not completely to where it takes away from the importance of what just happened. Like it made sense. It was just like, okay, they definitely had to like make this quick jump, but it wasn't bad. Like, and there was also the comic book flair of pacing, where you know how there's like panels and panels and panels. Like you can jump between different events that are happening at the same time, and just like in the comic books, they did that well. Okay, it wasn't just like something's really crazy happening here, and then they're like, oh, let's just jump straight into something that's not going to worry or matter at all, and filler. No, it was actually really well done, and honestly, oh, nut. Easily a 9 out of 10 for story and writing. With the story and pacing being handled so well, the script did not hold back. The use of dialogue and character interaction with not only each other, but with the world around each scene was just, ooh, amazing. They did not hold back on the rated R. They're definitely falling on that good Deadpool train of fuck, bitch, shit, fuck, pew pew, blood and splat and type shit. They did a really good job of that. There were plenty of great liners back and forth between the interaction of the characters, especially between John Cena and Idris Elba. I think some of their interactions was probably my favorite. I really liked that dynamic. Excellent delivery from the actors. Like every time the actors said something, it felt like it truly was the comic book characters. I couldn't contain myself from all the laughing that I was doing. I was on the edge of my seat. I didn't feel like anything was too cliche where it just like took the epicness from here and straight down the shitter. It held. The great use of the environment was it definitely enhanced the storytelling. And so the thing with scripts, it's not just about the dialogue and what they say, but the actions that they are told to do and how they're carried out by the actors. That's something I learned from my scriptwriting class. And holy shit, the signature James Gunn direction of writing was fantastic and definitely easily carried out naturally by all the casts. I didn't feel as if the dialogue took away from the actor's delivery. They may have not said a lot, but with their actions, oh, we got a lot from it. And the overall context we learned from just the interactions was great. Learning personality and character development through their exchanges and fighting styles was also a great way to allow these characters to shine within the script. No one was outshined in any way. I think all the characters had a great presence within the story with little to no cheesy lines and predictable one-liners. I honestly give this about an 8 out of 10. As we said before in previous adaptation reviews, all above factors make a great movie. However, what makes a good adaptation movie is the use of our beloved characters and how the actors pull them off. Now, we already talked a little bit about them with the use of dialogue and the execution of the actions, but this is where the movie really gives us an introduction to so many underrated villains, as well as our main A-list villains such as Waller, Harley, and even Captain Boomerang. Each character is given a moment to shine in their own way, and their own way of however long they are allowed to be on screen. John Cena as Peacemaker was fantastic. You can tell that not only did he have an insane amount of fun with this character, but he embodied and brought the character to life. You can tell because, one, he's been wearing the fucking Peacemaker costume all over Hollywood. If you guys haven't seen the videos where he's just fucking having the best time in it, check it out. It is great. I love it. Idris Elba's role is left a mystery while in production, but once we saw he's a walking adaptable arsenal, and Idris Elba carries that cool vibe, that whole badass presentation of the character. There is no one I would probably. It's really hard to recast someone like Idris Elba in this role because of how cool he has the fucking dude. The guy is just so cool everywhere. The way he walks, the way he interacts, the way he's like fuck off. It's just so well done. Idris Elba is amazing. He definitely, in my opinion, stole the show. He was my favorite character, and ooh, speaking of people that can never be recasted, Harley Quinn being played by Margot Robbie once again is just great. I hated how they used Harley in the last two movies that she was featured in, Birds of Prey as well as Suicide Squad, the original. But James Gunn allowed her to finally shine in the way she was meant to, being the crazy bitch she is. Her own flair on camera, like what you see, is just amplified by the movie itself and the effects given for her. Her script and lines were amazing. Margot Robbie nails the fucking. Ooh. Not only that, but the costume that she has is great. I love how she looked not only in the beginning, but even in the end. We can't forget about the rest of the cast because they're characters that people don't know about should also be praised. And I'm talking about people like King Shark. King Shark is a shark. Do I need to say any more? Like, NeOH, aka King Shark, was captured so well and honestly feels as if his personality will skyrocket to the amount of love that Groot now has in the mainstream media thanks to James Gunn's writing. Groot and the rest of the Guardians were not really known very well within the mainstream media. But with James Gunn's help, holy shit, did it fucking skyrocket. And I feel like it's going to be the same magic that's going to happen to NeOH, King Shark, and I'm so happy about that. They really captured what NeOH looks like, in my opinion. Like, the dead eyes of a shark is perfectly captured while still giving him the range of emotion just with his few selected words and interactions. I loved it. Great time. And if you guys don't know, it is voiced by Sylvester Stallone, and I just fucking love the fact that Sylvester Stallone is. It's just like it's the same feeling as seeing Vin Diesel play Groot. Okay, two badasses that are known for action, killing, beating bitches up on the screen, to being a very cute, lovable character that is only expressing itself through a few lines. It's just fantastic. Blackguard, which is Pete Davidson's character, was really well done. Bringing characters like Polka Dot Man, Javelin, Weasel, and TDK, and a few others from the comic books to the silver screens was just well done on all accounts. Like, if you guys don't know who TDK is, it stands for the detachable kid. He can detach his arms and limbs and control them from afar. Now, I know how that must sound. Definitely watch it because it's so great. He's such a stupid character in the comics, and he's a real character in the comics too. And oh boy. I can list a few other characters, but that is spoilers, so we're just gonna go on to one of the new characters that were made strictly for this movie. The addition of Ratcatcher 2. Now, Ratcatcher was a real character in the comics based off of just Ratcatcher, and the powers are right. The variant that we got here is the daughter and carrying the mantle of the Ratcatcher that's the reason for Ratcatcher 2. She is strictly a movie original character, and honestly, she might get the same amount of popularity that Harley Quinn did in the animated series, and they might bring her into the comics. I would love to see her being brought into the comics. That'd be actually really cool. The costume designs and portrayals of all these characters were fantastic. The updated look of Blackguard, which is Pete Davidson's character, looked fucking nice. There was a few Easter egg characters that were shown, and if you know them and you see them, you know who we talking about. It was really well done. It felt like I picked up an actual Suicide Squad comic and was reading from the pages just in motion, and I was tripping balls on how great it looked. Great job to the cast and crew. James Gunn did a great did an amazing job handling all these characters. Even though I loved it, there were moments that characters could have shined a little bit more, but wasn't enough to leave a sour taste in my mouth. 9 out of 10 for character usage. We gotta also end up looking at the last part of these sections, which is overall production and world design. I don't know how to tell you all, but I didn't see anything wrong. The soundtrack was, in my opinion, better than the first, and that's saying something because the only thing that everyone liked from the first movie was the soundtrack, and the soundtrack won, I think, either an nominated. Like the soundtrack was good for the first one. This movie did a lot better job. It matched every scene that you were part of, so the mood did not off from the music that was playing. Because you know how some scenes will play a song, let's say it sounds like a happier song when you're supposed to be sad. Yeah, it didn't do that. It nailed what you were supposed to be feeling, and you were on the edge of your seat every time, like something like excited happening, something in the the exciting rock sound. You know, rock music played perfectly. Soundtrack samples were matched just right for what was going on, the continuation of a story. The special effects were really just like wow. It was very well suited. It felt like a comic book. You know, it had the surrealistic feel of a comic book, but the realism of real life, if that makes any sense. There were at times it was over the top with the blood, but it wasn't to the point where it was distracting from the rest of the scenes. The special effects were used to amplify and emphasize the importance and the overall fun you were supposed to be having with the movie. And I think it was really well done, especially during Harley Quinn's scenes. Holy shit, the things that you saw and were happening around Harley was just it was an acid trip. And let me say, it was a good one. My energy kept up with the whole score, and each scene was built beautifully. I think the use of the world and surrounding environment was well done. Remember how you felt with Guardians of the Galaxy and how great that was with all the scenery and the special effects? Yeah, that's how I felt here. So that's a 10 out of 10, guys. Like, easy 10 out of 10 moment. To summarize it all, the use of characters and delivery of the script helped amplify the story and pacing while keeping that excited feel of the action of a comic book, supporting with a great cast and crew with non-stop bangers for the music. James Gunn actually does give me hope for the DC Cinematic Universe. This is honestly my favorite DC Universe movie since Man of Steel. And this is the cinematic universe I'm talking about, not the stuff before it, because if I were to say my favorite DC movie of all time would still be The Dark Knight. This movie does deserve a solid 9 out of 10, with probably being, again, the best DC movie since the release date of Man of Steel. I really hope this movie does well in the box office, because right now it's not looking like it, because I know you all want the Iyer cut, because it definitely would have been a whole new different movie. But please give this one a chance and support for the studio, because I want more projects to be under James Gunn, especially if he's thinking about doing Gotham City Sirens story and bringing in Catwoman. That would be fucking cool. I'd be loving that. As always, let me know what you thought of this movie. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you disagree or agree with me at any point? Let me know by interacting in chat during streams at twitch.tv/redxr98 or at me on Twitter or any of my other socials. And don't forget to comment on this video as well if you are watching from YouTube. All the links to everything you need to know will also be in the description below. And I will see you guys next time.